Hey, everybody. Welcome to Friday, February 6th, episode 655 of the Daily AI Show. I'm Beth Lyons, and with me in the studio today is Andy Halliday, and we think Carl might join us at some point today as well. Yeah, so hey, everybody. Hey, everybody in the chat as well. Great to see you all. It was just a quiet day yesterday, Andy. Like, not really anything happened at all. And of course, we're joking because Anthropic and OpenAI dropped their new model releases within 20 minutes of each other. So somebody was holding it back so that could happen at the same time, I guess. Andy, what are your thoughts about this?
Well, both of them were major advances on their prior models. Like 5.3 from OpenAI ChatGPT is significantly better than 5.2. And similarly, Claude 4.6 is significantly better than Claude 4.5. And the Opus version of 4.6 now has 1 million token context window.
Yes.
Which is a big leap. That's a big leap from 200,000 to 1 million context window. Because one of the big things that's been an irritation in using Claude Code and other variants of that, including Co-Work, importantly, is that you run into the limits. Even on a paid plan, you'll be working on it, and it's very competent and it can do dramatic things, but it's burning tokens. And it reaches a context window and has to do a compaction. And it's also counting all those tokens towards the limit of what you're allowed to use. I'm hoping that the larger context window in Opus 4.6 means that if you select that model, you're not likely to run into those. And maybe they have actually extended the limits as well. I don't know. I don't see any news about that yet, but that would be a really important improvement to using Claude because we are getting rate limited. So like yesterday, I'm going to ramble on here for a second about Claude because yesterday I was using, as I have been recently, I was using Lovable to do the actual coding, ultimately deployable platform for an application, but I'm using Claude Co-Work to be my assistant guide in doing that work with Lovable. And I believe that Lovable underneath the hood is also using a Claude Sonnet model as in probably Sonnet 4.5 as the coding agent within Lovable. That's not so transparent. You can't, it doesn't, clearly show which model, or at least I haven't checked lately to see if it's clearly showing that. But I ran into the limit, like in the middle of the afternoon. It said, "Okay, you're done till 11 p.m." So I'm stopped basically because I'm kind of dependent on the context collection that Co-Work has to guide me in directing what's happening in Lovable. So I use that time, by the way, to download the Codex app for Mac, which then has available to it the 5.3 code, the model rather. And then I also set up anti-gravity. And I want to jump to a conclusion that I reached very quickly in trying to articulate either one of those to do what Claude was doing. And neither one of those is instrumented in such a way that it can look at your browser. It cannot look, it has its own built-in browser, so you can give it a URL and have it go there, but it can't simultaneously look over your shoulder on the, and I'm saying it, I mean both anti-gravity and Codex, the application. Neither one of them do what Claude Code does so nicely in the Co-Work module using the Claude MCP extension in Chrome. And that is, it can be watching the same Chrome browser tab that you are and guiding you like it's really there in the room with you. That's a major distinction if you're trying to use any one of these three major vibe coding platforms now. And that's not to say that if you're a more advanced developer than I am, you need that kind of over-the-shoulder assistance. You may not need that at all, and you might be working in setting up your own deployable environment, and then either one of those is perfectly competent to do those things. But I appreciate Claude Co-Work and Claude Code for that singular ability to be able to watch the same Chrome browser tab that I'm working on. And in that browser tab, I might be doing a range of things, but I'm using that tab to use Lovable. And so I'm building in that tab, and that works really nicely for me. A couple of other quick points about what Anthropic just released, like their Codex had a similar multi-agent capability as what was just released by Anthropic yesterday. Anthropic's they call agent teams. And this is like in the Codex app, you can, or Anti-Gravity, you can have an agent window and you can launch multiple agents. And there's a sort of a management UI for having multiple agents operating at the same time. Well, Anthropic has just dropped as part of the 4.6 release this agent teams capability. So you can spin up agents, split up tasks. They work autonomously on those tasks. And Nate Jones and others have made it pretty clear that, and some research, I think, from MIT shows that if you try to give too many agents access to the same process, that gets to some kind of confusion and coordination issues among all those agents. But if you separate them out and provide them with a common sort of task list, but they're confined in their efforts to working on one atomic task in that task list and then reporting back to that orchestration, that doesn't get confused. And this is what is really nice, I think, in one of either Anti-Gravity or Codex. And they actually post in a screen on the right-hand side, they post the list of tasks that are underway and check them off as they're being done. And if you set that up as a multi-agent process, then you could have separate and parallel operations that are knocking off things on the to-do list, in effect, effectively and with good coordination. Okay, so anyway, 2 big releases yesterday, both of them major advances, neither one of them blowing the other out of the water, but I think it's clear that Anthropic is being blamed for the stock market sell-off in software as a service companies, in large part because of the comprehensive suite of capabilities that make it possible for enterprises and other companies to basically vibe code their way to get out of those subscription SaaS companies. You're on mute, Beth.
That is interesting. There we go. Because what I was seeing was the people attributing the sell-off more to co-work plugins. Specifically the contractor view plugin, like boom, wiped out a bunch of things.
Yeah, and they did a similar plugin for legal, and so all of the AI companies that were doing something in the legal space are suddenly, Anthropic's got a skill basically that's a plugin that can really accelerate their competence in the legal space.
And it's interesting because every Dan Shipper and every.to talked about a plugin, or talked about a tool that they had developed in-house a couple months ago and that they were considering releasing, but I haven't heard them say anything about it anymore. But it was this plugin. It was the idea of if you are a company that has the same contract template that you deliver to each client and just gets small modifications each time, you don't need your full lawyer to do that. Your full lawyer created the contract, and now you can use something to review that and flag the individual pieces. So I think that's really interesting. They did a live yesterday afternoon that's up I can link to it in the community if we want. But basically, they had access to both models a couple days before. I felt jealous, but also Dan Shipper said he hadn't slept in 2 days. So, like, really wished we had that. And also, thank you, I guess, is what we're saying. But their take was that they felt that Opus 4.6 became a little bit more like Codex. It was able to think a little bit longer. It was able to do autonomously, hold the path a little bit longer and get a little further. And Codex 5.3 was a little more Claude Code-like. And that is like the convergence, right? We are seeing, based on how people use these things, what the audience wants, what the people want.
Well said. And by the way, we are in the rumor space of Claude Sonnet 5 being released soonish. We don't know when, but Opus 4.6 is as you said, it's catching up to some of the agentic capabilities, multi-agent capabilities that Codex had released earlier in the week, in effect.
Right.
But we are probably on the cusp of seeing Claude 5, and Claude Opus 5 is likely to be yet again a step forward towards this really competent, long-running, highly context-aware agentic model support for every kind of work that you want to do. A quote from Alex Albert, head of Claude relations at Anthropic, on X. He said, "This launch, 4.6, not 5, is the watershed moment for AI becoming a real working partner for people who spend their days in spreadsheets, slide decks, and long documents."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's immediately available for PowerPoint and Excel, right? Those Claude for Excel, Claude for PowerPoint are immediately now available to use Opus 4.6. There was also a very interesting conversation happening in terms of Greg Brockman posted about their internal OpenAI mandate. And again, when people give us a little bit of a window into their teams, how the frontier lab companies are using their products, it's very interesting, because we know from Boris Cherny that a bunch of the improvements in Claude Code over time have been more and more developed by their in-house team is using Claude Code to code those systems. Brockman wrote on X that some of their team has made that transition, but not all, and that he is mandating that by March 31st, all of the team be doing it. He calls it a renaissance in software. And he laid out like specific mandates. And again, I sort of think that these are bellwethers for how other companies look at, again, how the people who are in the front row and in the room doing this, the ways that they are talking about their business process and doing their business process, it starts to lead to that sort of change.
Yeah.
And I'm going to see if I can find this. Yeah. Where are we? Okay. I am looking for the analysis of Brockman's information, but that's okay. So another piece that I found really interesting was the 4.6 has shipped with adaptive thinking, or adaptive. So it gets to choose how deep it thinks, basically. You can do that with various APIs, you can make an API call. I know you can do it, I think, with Gemini, but there on the API, you can often set how deep the thinking mode will go when you're making the specific API call. And 4.6 shipped with that. And again, one of the things that Every said was like 4.6 wins because it for them, because it was able to do things like one shot bug fix that had been problematic for them for a little bit of time. But it also does stupid things periodically, like sort of holy crap moments. This was amazing. Holy crap moments. Why? Right. And they're expecting or surmising that is part of this adaptive change where it's deciding how much it needs to think. And when it doesn't get it right, it then leads to doing something stupid. And that is a real challenge for people who are vibe coding, right? Because what you're doing is essentially giving up control and trust so that you're able to code above your knowledge. And when something happens that is stupid but not detectable, that's something that I think we're going to see. You, Andy, I believe have found that when you give what's happened to another model, right? So this is what's occurred. This is what Claude did. I give it to Gemini. Gemini gives a response based on this. So there are techniques to let other models review what one model has done, and that may become more and more important as what's happening gets outside of certainly a novice human understanding, but at some point even an expert human understanding, right?
Yeah, and it doesn't take much time at all to spin up a brand new model on what you've been working on even for months because of GitHub. So I can just clone the Git, put it in a folder, pointed Anti-Gravity and Codex both at a Git that had two different repos for the same project, one that Brian's been working on and one that I've been working on, and said, do a comparative analysis and feature, sort of, what are the missing components in each one compared to the other to find out what are the distinct things there that, and each one of them did a really champion job at analyzing the current state of each one of those projects and making recommendations about how to either, port one capability that's missing from the other into the other one and so on. So that's going to be helpful to us as we try to merge the efforts that we've been doing individually on a collective project. And that's really interesting. But again, to your point, I found it very helpful and very useful to give the full context of a project, even in a compacted form, to one of the new models and have it come forward with new insights.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And what I feel like people are coming to experience before knowledge is what software teams have been doing for years, right? Like we're like, oh, good, we're using GitHub. Okay. So what is the Git process? And I spent the weekend, last weekend, going back and forth, trying to get a real handle and understanding for the system that I set up between my MacBook and my old Windows computer because they don't naturally talk. And when you're talking about code, you don't actually want to use something like OneCloud, Google Drive, iCloud. All of those things use a different system to determine the difference between two files, and it corrupts GitHub. Like it's It's completely a problem. And our colleague Brian discovered that the hard way. So we would like to really let everyone else know, do not share your code files through these kinds of file savers. Git and GitHub really allow that. Now, I'm not, like, my GitHub isn't actually filled with code. It's just filled with files that I'm working on different computers. Some of that might be code files, but it might also just be text preparation for like a contract or an idea, a project, PRD kind of thing. And that kind of piece, going back and forth and understanding you can't be working on the same file at the same time. You can't ideally be working on the same feature or directory, subdirectory within your system at the same time, because it just is messy, right? And I think we got out of that kind of mindset when Google Docs let you have two people edit the same document. Like, that was a sea change. Oh my God, we could all take notes in the same class, right? And Google Docs decided what was, yeah, nice. Garrett is saying, it's good. I did that yesterday. I had Claude come up with a refactoring plan and then took it to Codex to come up with a plan. Took it back to Claude to analyze both plans and come up with a plan. Yes, that's great. So I think that for people who are like slightly in the bubble or outside of the bubble, this is working on the same document in Word or Google Docs, right? And if you're old enough, you know that was a horrible thing to do. That, like, no, you have to wait. I'm going to edit the document, then you can edit the document. Now we can edit the document at the same time, but it's Google Drive who decides, it's Google Docs who decides what edits stay, and then you can do versioning back. With code, that's just messy. Thoughts?
Well, shall we move on from the sort of confrontational fray between OpenAI and Anthropic of today? And by the way, Gemini is still only at 3, so they have a long way to go.
Yeah,
but 3 is. I'm being flip about that. 3 is very, very good. So who knows when and what the next Gemini release will be able to do. So that's forthcoming.
And also because Gemini's 1 was Bard, and Bard was so bad that they changed the name and started counting again. So if you count Bard, they're a little closer to the numbers, but nobody wants to count Bard.
They've redeemed themselves fully in my mind, for sure. So
I want to welcome Gene. If AI can get good enough and to make whatever code we need, will we need Microsoft or any other software companies similar? Are there days as system providers coming to a close? That is the $1 million question. For some, that is the dream. For others, that is the nightmare.
It's a many billion dollar question, because that's the impact on the stock market valuations of these software as a service companies. They have lost an enormous amount of their value as measured in dollars. And so, that's the fear. But there are people who have, skepticism about whether that will happen in any near-term way. People are still dependent on those systems of record. And so it's very difficult to move off of them. So people will continue to pay their subscription fees to those software services. And for example, although there are open source spreadsheets and there's Google Sheets, which you can use pretty inexpensively, people still have preference for the particulars of the way Excel works. And so, people will continue to buy Office 365 for many years to come, I think.
Yeah. Ooh, Gareth said, I had a salesperson reach out to me about software, and I told them, no thanks, I'll just build it.
There you go. Yeah.
I think that sort of determines the in some ways the distance that you're in the bubble, because I'm also looking at stuff like, wow, That's $97. Let's have a conversation with Claude. These are the things I'm interested in what this does. Can we do that without needing to go with the software? So yes, we're moving to a place where we're not the target audience anymore.
Yeah, I want to also comment quickly on Gareth's question about whether Gemini is good or not at coding. He's saying, why isn't Gemini better at coding? And my experience with Gemini, even back to 2.5 Pro, is that it's really, really excellent at coding and understanding code base and providing code and instruction to Claude. So, I haven't had the same experience you've had about coding, but Anti-Gravity is well regarded out there, and it's powered by Gemini 3. So I hope that it's not true that Gemini is poor at coding.
Well, Gemini, I would say, I know what I've had the experience that I think Gareth is asking about. Why isn't it better? And for me, that means why isn't it more consistent? Gemini still, in my experience, periodically just is like, nah. Oh, I just did 1 through 5 and 50 through 55, but I thought you could do the ones in the middle, right? Like, and that doesn't seem to have a rhyme or reason. I am making the assumption that somewhere in their system they have a balancing thing that is like, okay, done for you. You don't get to do this. There's too many over here. But that is problematic from a reliability standpoint.
I haven't run into that particular problem because, again, I've been using Gemini as a coaching coder as opposed to a code writer. But it's writing code in their process.
Gemini gets the whistle, gets to stand on the sidelines, gets to drink a little Gatorade, come in, fix things, and go back. All right, we got it. Hey, Carl.
Carl, welcome. Before Carl jumps into the Claude continuum, I just wanted to mention a quick little item of news here, which is that Perplexity launched a product called Model Council, and it's taking advantage of Perplexity's access to multiple models. So if you have a Perplexity subscription, you have multiple models available to you. And instead of requiring you to switch between models, it now provides, in response to your query, several models results at once, and then it combines them automatically so you only see one combined answer. So it's using 3 models and their responses. It has a sort of a composer model that takes the outputs of those 3 models and converges those on whatever the right answer is so that you can move forward faster with confidence. And if they disagree, if there's any disagreement across the 3 models, it exposes that and shows you where that discrepancy is so that you can dig deeper into that question. So very cool. I'm glad that Perplexity makes that sort of native to Perplexity questions.
So Gareth is asking, is this similar to the LLM Council that was created a couple months ago, which was a Karpathy weekend project? I just thought I'd, bring things in and do magic things because I am a magic man with magic brains. But it does sound
I think all of us have probably experimented with the idea by, putting the same query to multiple models and then putting the results of those 2 things over to another model to pull it all together, which is kind of what Gareth was describing, right? When he, bounces across models. Well, Perplexity is just making that packaged into their normal query response routine.
So it's not something I get to turn on or off, and I don't get to select the models. Is that true?
No, I think you can select individually if that's your preference. But if you don't, I think the default now is the Model Council.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. I haven't tested that yet, by the way. I mean, that's literally today. So check it out.
All right. Cool. I'm looking at my thing. I'm like, where do I have this? Perplexity also added shortcuts, aka slash commands, which I discovered when I was trying to figure out whether I needed a slash in something or not. And a window popped up and said, "Would you like to save this as a shortcut?" I was like, "No. What? Who are you? Why are you asking me this question?" I did not know that was a Perplexity thing, but I guess it doesn't surprise me.
All right, Carl.
Yeah, Carl, what you bringing?
What you got?
Oh, by the way, have you all talked about Claude Co-Work plugins yet?
We haven't. We mentioned that there are plugins which are, that's a different folder than skills, and so Claude skills and Claude plugins together provide capabilities to that. I think, but that's just the high level thing. I have plugins assigned to Claude Code, but just because somebody recommended them as available, and I haven't invoked one yet. So.
Oh, okay, because I think like with one of our clients, they are really, really, really starting to move into co-work. Like they're starting to see, like, with the ability to connect into your folders, then plus the plugin ability. Now it's harder to create those plugins in co-work. You actually still have to create the skills either in Claude. It's easier to actually create everything in Claude Code, then take it out and then put it back into co-work. But and also too, I don't know if you mentioned this too, Claude has, you know how we have Claude Excel plugin, they also have Claude plugin for PowerPoint, which started to try to, it's a gateway problem with me, but yeah, I know the same group is like chomping at the bit when I told them about that, which is exciting for them.
It is really interesting because it adds the potential capacity that you've been talking about, or close, that you've been talking about for GenSpark, right? Has the ability to have the context of the files that you give it access to, do some research, and then create the presentation, right?
Yeah. So like usually when we're in our prospect demos now, when we talk about capabilities, or like we tie this into reasoning, because we did the Gemini video to video reasoning, video spatial reasoning. Then we go into, most companies, they do not do their work in cloud. They do a lot of their work in whatever, name an alphabet, like name a letter, and that's their drive. And most of that stuff is in the drive. So a lot of it's still copy and paste into AI, versus, this enables you to, stack task after task after task. And it's really about risk tolerance for companies. So, so what I want to showcase today was, I did it, I think like a month ago already. And then, I'm going to go window. So in here, do I need to set this, or who needs to share this?
I need to share.
All right.
Got it.
Okay. So this is from, another client project, and I'm still in Cursor with this one. But so essentially it's not actually that difficult of a concept, but and I'm trying to think about how I'll tie this into the new Teams agents that yesterday. But what happened here, so in this example, I have 6 or 7 agents doing specific work on PDFs for a client. Right. But what we did instead is each agent has a skill attached to it. And so when you build, like, you don't have to have agents to do this, but in this case I did. So each agent has a skill and a learnings MD file. So what you're doing is, every single time you complete a task, in this case, there's a task that they do, and they review 30, 40, 50 PDFs at a time, extract information and do a rename, and then move into a different folder. Every single time it does that task, I have in here a slash command called retrospective. And so when you hit retrospective, it does three things. One is it reviews your entire session, like your conversation for that session. Then it takes the learnings and failures, and then it updates the learning and the skill for each agent, sub-agent here. So every single time we complete a task, I just hit retrospective. So all the skill, everything that we learn from that task, any edge cases is automatically populated into the learnings and skill. And every single time the agent executes, it goes into its learnings and its skill. So hence continuous learning every single time it's used. So that's pretty much it.
So it gets smarter, it gets more facile, it gets
it kind of, but it's more of,
where are we? There we go.
There are some use cases. There's some use cases that, edge cases that we haven't seen before. And so it's like, oh, in one instance, like if the property code has these extra 3 letters, what do we do? I was like, oh, we do this, this, this. But that gets written up in the retrospective and then automatically populates into learning and skill. So the next time you don't have to remember that. It's already part of the learning and skill that it's written over. So yeah, so essentially you are self-improving the agent, especially on the skill side. So you do not have to reprompt any edge case or any specifics outside of like any major overhaul you need to do with this.
So what you do is learn from, you do the retrospective, which is essentially review everything, make notes of the learning, and then you don't have to say, go back and look what we learned before, because it's always reviewing those skills files and instructions.
Yeah, and exactly. And it's actually not hard to set up because like in this case, I'm using sub-agents, but let's just, for example, ditch the sub-agents and you're just in a folder and you're just like, you have Claude create a skill. I don't know what that skill would be for that specific use case. And then when you engage in that task, just build out, literally ask Claude, hey, I want to build a slash command retrospective. And it does these 3 things: review, looks at learning failures, update the skill in the folder. And that's it. And so now you have a slash command, then you have a skill, and it automatically updates every single time. You can make it as simple or as complex, a little bit more complex how I'm doing here, where every single agent skill gets updated if it's appropriate, if the learning affects them.
So a couple of questions. One, what is the distinction between the learnings.md and the skills.md update?
So the skill, so we have like a let's say property value. Let's look at this description extractor here. So you have the skill, which instructs the agent to what it actually does. But then the learning is any like additional information that doesn't need to be part of the skill, but that the agent will look at before executing the next time.
So does the retrospective command generate modifications to both of those files, both skills and learnings?
Yeah, every single time. If I hit retrospective based on you still have to remember to hit retrospective, but I could create a hook that when the session's over, but the thing is sometimes the sessions are longer or shorter than what I normally do. So just in case, I have control of the retrospective, but you can set a hook that it
just trigger that,
make it every single time.
Yeah.
So Gareth is referencing that I've took it off the stage. Were you showing a different file? Should I put it back up?
No. Oh, well, you can put it back up and I can just. So yeah, it would be like I'm not that like in this case, will I check every single time the skill and the learning? Hell no. I just want to make sure to execute. Really, the whole point of this whole program is to execute the what I'm looking to do. Now, if there is an issue that we saw last time and it's not executing, because I get a final report after the execution on what the reviews are, what the confidence score based on the agent execution is. And as like, for me, it's not for me, it's from like the client, and we haven't heard any issues with it because they use it every week at 100 PDFs a week, and they're just ripping this through. So they do their spot checks, haven't heard from them. So it's like, okay, you can do that.
I have a quick question just about the folder structure here. I got the impression that you have a skill and learnings.md file for each of your sub-agents that are listed above there.
Correct.
The ones that are open now when you've opened skills, oh, I see. So that they're organized within the skills folder according to the name of the sub-agent.
Correct.
Okay.
So each agent will be pulling from the skill and the...
Yeah. Got it. Thank you.
Yeah.
Nice. This, the philosophy sounds a lot like the compound engineering plugin, which is just a series of plugins through, again, from every, and the idea behind the whole thing, the philosophy is to turn technical debt on its head. That generally, the more complicated your code is, the harder it is to make changes. And the compound engineering does a learning process also, so that with as you grow, it becomes easier to add features, not harder. And that was the idea. They do, they don't call it a retrospective, but they do something similar.
Well, so here's my thing too. Like I have to update my Git on this. The question I have, like I'm thinking is, do I switch all my agents now? Because it's all reviewing PDFs. Do I switch it all to Gemini 3 Flash versus Opus 4.5? And it was okay. I think that what makes this a little easier is the sub agent is only looking for one thing versus one agent looking for 6 different things. One agent's just the whole thing, right? So, but then I can have in the skill, as you can see here, I have the instructions I gave it is, if the confidence score is less than 80%, use the Gemini API. If it's a picture, use Gemini API. If it's handwriting, use Gemini API. If not, just go your regular Opus 4.5. In that case, now it's 4.6, but that's what it was. But it's like, do I say, you know what, forget it, go into Gemini Flash? Is just a lot more token consumption every single time.
Right.
And so I'm not sure. That's kind of the question I have. And I don't know. I think with Gemini Flash 3, it is the highest rated model to do that kind of stuff. But
well, it's certainly better than its weight class, right? It's better than Haiku. It's better than Mini.
Yeah. So that would be the only thing left to do. But hopefully anyone who's watching can kind of get like, oh, in my specific use case, I can engage in a retrospective every single time. So that's what I was wondering in Co-Work. Could we do something like that? Because it would be nice to go into your plugins and like whatever skill you have set out, that you can make it learn. Because right now you can't, right? You have to essentially rebuild that skill to add any more instructions or anything like that. But with the retrospective, you just hit the slash command and it automatically. Now, I guess you could, because what you could do is you could build the slash command in Claude Code with all your skills, package it into a plugin and put it into Co-Work and kind of do it that way. I haven't really done it that way, but that's another option.
Well, Co-Work can, like it could be sort of like custom GPTs, right? Like you could actually point Co-Work to a file that had the instructions.
Yeah.
Run the instructions that it got in the file, which is like the skills.md for that or whatever that is, and then have it update that file. Those are within Co-Work's capabilities.
I think it is. It's just if you have a plugin installed into Co-Work, I don't know if you have a / command, will it update the skills inside Co-Work? That would be the question, right?
So which is why I was saying that you could do it like the custom GPT, right? It's where it's reading the instructions. It's not the / command. It's a different thing. So you're right.
You put it like so instead of it just kind of defeats it's just a different way to deploy I guess instead of having a plugin, you'd have the files directly in the folder, just like how I'm having it here. So yeah, you could definitely do it that way. It kind of defeats the purpose of a plugin if you have the files in the folder, or you have to make sure the files are in the folder for it to learn and to pull from. It would be nice if it can just update the skill itself without having them into the folder. But anyway, I'm sure
I think either you'll be able to do that, or what you will likely have in offices is the Claude Code person, right? So you have a bunch of people using Co-Work, and then you go to the Claude Code person and say, hey, I would like this to happen. They access it through code, update the skill, which is inside the plugin, and then that works, right?
I think we all know that probably will not be required. It's not going to be very long that they expand towards it, like to the point where like you're editing a whole bunch of stuff, right? There's no way that they would need you to go to Claude Code, build the plugin, put it back into Co-Work. No, I think I was like,
well, it's designed to be Claude Code for the rest of us, right?
Oh yeah. It would just make too much sense.
Agreed.
Right? It would just way too much sense in that.
Agreed. And if it's not possible today, it will be soon.
Exactly. It would, so
cool. Any other things that people talked about? Carl, have you
here? Did you talk about Frontier?
Talked about Frontier, but not
yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, you missed it. Okay.
Not the article that you posted. So let's talk about that.
Oh, okay. So I thought that was a really, really cool. Just bring that up. So I forgot that person's name. I think that person's name's okay. There was 2 articles actually. Let's pull that up. Where? Okay, now I lost you. Where did you go?
Akash Gupta?
Yes, Akash Gupta. Okay, so there was a couple of them. Yeah, so
if he shares,
I'm just trying to find where are you? No, I don't know what tab you're in.
You're still with us, but I never find it.
I don't know.
So if you don't stream on the regular, you may not know this pain, but yes, your tabs have tiny little tablets on the top, and then you have to find the one that has the "We're Live" button.
Okay, so here we go.
All right, cool.
So
Thanks.
Akash was talking about like Sam Altman's post about the companies that succeed if you're going to make very heavy use of AI, manage bunch of agents, which we've talked about before, right? Mm-hmm. But I thought it was kind of neat because he told every SaaS CEO per seat pricing model has an expiration date. Mm-hmm. Take that with a grain of salt. And then he talks about Salesforce trying to do it, but he was referencing in the OpenAI Frontier announcement, they have a little graph there showing, where the layers are. So OpenAI will be the layer that sits above all your enterprise software, will give agents identity, permissions, and access to every system, and will let third-party agents from Google, Anthropic, and anyone else run on it. Mm-hmm. So essentially your software, and this isn't new to anyone who's been following the space. Satya has been talking about this. Your SaaS is a system of record. Your agents are going to be the one accessing it, right? But we've talked about in the past, they charge per seat. ServiceNow, Workday, Salesforce. How many seats do you have? But it's like, why would you charge for seats? I want to combine that with, did anyone watch the, there was Sam Altman was on, I think, I forgot what was this, Every Company an API. So there was this, where's the video on that? It's a really good, there it is.
Is software dead?
Can you hear this? No.
Yep.
Okay.
It's different. It's definitely not dead. But what software, like how you create it, how you're going to use it, how much you're going to have written for you each time you need it versus how much you'll want sort of a consistent UX. Yeah. That's all going to change. There have been a number of these like big sell-offs of SaaS stocks over the last few years as these models have rolled out. I expect there will continue to be more. I expect there will be big booms in software. I think it's just going to be volatile for a while as people figure out what this looks like. The statement that someone said to me that has stuck in my mind most these last couple of weeks is that every company is an API company now, whether they want to be or not.
Oh yeah.
Because agents are just going to be able to
write us. Yeah, we had Dart.
Anyway, so I think that's an ad, but there was another person who says, like, hey, we've talked about this before. Will software companies allow you to be open to enable your agent to go in it, extract this information, and so on? Or will they remain closed and do their own AI, whatever agent force, whatever that looks like? But they run the risk of, if you don't do it, I'm going to go to a provider that gives me an open because I want my agent to access it. I want Frontier. I want whatever Anthropic. I want whatever Microsoft, whatever. I want that to access your stuff. If you're not going to allow me to access, I'm going to go find a vendor that will. Are we in that space? And maybe that's where like a lot of this is coming. And then we can tie it back to Claude Co-Work. It's like, that's the beginning, right? You're like, well, with an MCP, I can get Co-Work to do this. What the hell do I need like your UI for? Or what do I need your dashboard for? I want to create my dashboard.
Right. And if they don't do that, you can tide over with a computer use function, right? Because do you just need one seat? Like if they don't give you access via API or MCP or whatever, do you just need one seat with a computer use agent who can do all of the things that your admin could do all of the things that your architect could do, like it can have the full level of skill and knowledge. I mean, you could export the relevant data at midnight every night. And no somewhere else, right? Like
I think I don't know if you've
heard point. That's silly.
It is. It just takes me back to what Sam Altman said about he referenced like, someone asked him about Claudebot, and he was like, I think Claudebot itself or OpenClaw is a passing fad, but the tech. So he said this before Frontier, when they launched it. But I think the tech behind it's very interesting. I think we're going to do more of that. And then Frontier, and if you read Frontier, you're like, dude, that's OpenClaw for enterprises. Once you deploy that thing is accessing everything. Like every single, like, I don't know if anyone read what was in Frontier. I'm like, dear Lord, like I want access to that now. I just don't want an OpenAI front forward engineer. I'm like, no, I want to play with that fully and have it completely use whatever. Because if they launch that, I was like, I don't know, that to me, that's another big changes how you actually work. If that works how they think it's going to work. Or if it even happens what Claude does right now.
I was mentioning to Andy before the show that it feels like another seismic moment for me where the analogy I used, I feel like I'm the dog in the middle of the living room saying, do you all not hear what just happened outside? Or why can't you smell whatever's happening? Like, you have to be fairly in the bubble to be paying attention in this kind of way. Even though I'm not using the things, I do feel like something shifted yesterday in a step up.
I think it's more like the entire week, right? Because it was, you got OpenClaw, then you got 4.6, you got 5.3, and they're all talking about it doing longer and longer work for you. Combine that with Co-Work, the stuff people were doing in Claude Code. Like, I think the bubble has moved, but I'm always humbled because last couple of days we were doing discovery with a client, and let's see, the first 3 sessions we did, right? 3 departments. We asked, here, how many people here, what are your thoughts and feelings about AI, right? First group, I don't use it. I barely use it. I don't use it. And you'd be like, what? Why would you not use it? Second group, this was really contentious. I think it's changing our cognitive ability. The guy produced the MIT report and talked about 40% hallucination rate. I have no clue where he got that, because I was like, the open source, that is, I don't know what model, what task, what, how did you measure? Is it grounded, not grounded? Like, what are you talking about? But like, all 4 people in that department were anti-AI. Then the next department, I don't use AI. I don't use it. I don't use it at all. The next day was better because it was more sales. So sales got excited and marketing was excited. But then even the accounting department barely touched it. So that's what I mean. It's like, you get humbled. You're like, you got this. We're talking about all this stuff. And then you go into regular folks who are like, I'm either dead scared of it, anti it, don't use it, don't know anything about it. So it just, it keeps getting me humbled. Like, you got to remember there's a lot that people out there.
Yes, absolutely. And that, I think, is part of the feeling of like sensing the shift, and also looking around and seeing that other people are just not sensing the shift. I'm curious, Carl, how do you get brought into a company like that? Is that the executive saying, we want this?
So this company, it takes a long time. So we did our first prospect presentation to them way back last, I would say, February 2024. I think February and March 2024. Then we did a executive co-pilot training. Then we had conversations, and then we finally got, they finally made the decision to finally move over. So now we just did discovery, and it's February. So it took a year, right? But mind you, in this space, this industry that we're in, very, very, very slow. Like, very, very slow. Like, every single company we've touched in this industry, very, very slow. You're like, what do you use it for? Like, you'd be like, why wouldn't you use AI for that? There's that industry. Versus, like, at the same time, I was just this other company we were in Boston with, they kicked off their AI champions meeting, and my Lord, every single executive, because we have a champions council, but in that council is a lot of the executives, and they're like, we built this, we built this, we built this, we built this. 2 of them who attended our workshop the next day goes, hey, yeah, so I vibe coded this. And I was like, welcome. And we're talking generational gap too. We're talking like people in their 60s, people like, so you have 2 very, very diametrically opposed companies. One is extremely careful versus one is like, we got to go, and they are going. So it's very interesting just to see that.
Yep.
Very cool.
Wow. Well, thank you. Carl's latest report on views from the ground. Thank you. Okay. Well, we're at the top of the hour, so I think probably we should wrap up. Thank you so much for spending your week with us. And we hope that you join us on Monday. For folks who were listening, there were absolute pieces that were visual. You should be and they're worth it. So I would say go to it, but go to it on a large screen. You have the ability to watch it on your TV. That will be helpful, or your largest screen. All right. Tomorrow the conundrum comes out. Sunday the newsletter comes out. If you're not engaging with those, please do. The conundrum is on Spotify, and the newsletter, you can go to thedailyAIshow.com, sign up, or and go to thedailyAIshowcommunity.com and join the conversation in the chat. Thanks, everybody. Take care. Have a good weekend, Andy.